Why you wouldn't survive a day in ancient China. Dim your lights. Pull your blanket up to your chin. Tonight's story isn't about dragons or emperors. It's about you, and how spectacularly dead you'd be by sunset. You wake up in the year 1163. The Song Dynasty. The good news? You're alive. The bad news? The average life expectancy is 35, and that's if you're lucky enough to survive childhood, which, spoiler alert, most people aren't. Before we continue your doomed journey through ancient China, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment where you're watching from. Not that it matters, wherever you are. Now is paradise compared to where we're going. Tonight we're going to follow you, yes you, through one miserable day as a commoner in Song Dynasty China. No, you're not a scholar official sipping tea and writing poetry. You're not a merchant counting silver. You're certainly not the emperor. You're nobody, just like 99% of people who've ever lived. Are you comfortable? Good. That ends now. Morning awakening, your eyes crack open to darkness. The sun isn't up yet, but you are. You must be. In ancient China, sleeping past dawn is a luxury you cannot afford. You're sprawled on a kang, a raised platform bed made of brick and stone. During winter, a small fire burns beneath it to provide warmth. Today, it just feels like lying on particularly judgmental concrete. Your mattress is a thin reed mat that smells like a goat had an existential crisis on it. Your pillow? A ceramic block. Yes, you read that correctly. The Chinese pioneered many things: paper, gunpowder, and pillows designed by sadists. Yours is shaped like a small rectangular brick, perhaps to prepare your neck for the wooden collar you'll wear if you break the law. The air in your one-room home is thick with smoke. There are no chimneys, just a hole in the roof that theoretically allows smoke to escape. Theoretically. In practice, you're essentially hot smoking your lungs every night. Your persistent cough isn't a quirky personality trait. It's your body begging you to move somewhere with building codes. You share this space with your extended family: parents, grandparents, siblings, their children. Privacy was invented much later. The concept would be as alien to you as smartphones or dental floss. Speaking of which, your mouth tastes like something crawled in and died, which, considering your diet and non-existent dental hygiene, is entirely possible. As you rise, your joints crack in protest. You're 28 years old, but your body feels 60. Chronic malnutrition, constant physical labor, and sleeping on stone will do that to you. The arthritis setting into your hands isn't premature. It's right on schedule. You hear movement around you. Your mother is already stoking the cooking fire. Your father is coughing. That same wet, rattling cough he's had for months. In modern times, we'd call it tuberculosis and prescribe antibiotics. In Song Dynasty China, you call it the inevitable. Decline before death, and prepare yourself mentally to become the head of the household. Outside, it's barely light, but the village is stirring. Roosters announce the dawn with all the subtlety of drunken heralds. Pigs snort in their pens beneath the house. Yes, beneath. Your livestock lives under your floorboards, providing both a source of food and home heating. The ammonia from their waste rises through the cracks in the floor, giving your home that special aroma that no incense can disguise. Time to get up. No hitting the snooze button. No stretching languorously. The fields won't plow themselves, and your feudal lord takes a dim view of decreased productivity. Your bare feet hit the dirt floor, and already your day is filthier than your worst modern moment. Now comes everyone's favorite part of the day: ancient Chinese hygiene practices. First, your teeth. Forget minty freshness. You grab a willow twig and fray the end into a primitive brush. Your toothpaste is a gritty mixture of salt and herbs that tastes like seasoned regret. You scrub vigorously not to prevent cavities. That's a battle you've already lost. But to delay the inevitable day when your teeth rot completely. Tooth extraction in the Song dynasty involves pliers, strong wine, and prayers to ancestors, who probably died toothless themselves. Ready to wash your face? Hope you like it cold. You splash water from a ceramic basin onto your face, gasping at the shock. The water comes from the same well that serves the entire village. The same well where animals drink, children play, and occasionally someone falls in and isn't discovered for days. But don't worry, the water passed through a cloth, so it's practically Evian. Need to relieve yourself? Let's hope it's just urination, because that can be done quickly in the designated corner of your family's small courtyard. The resulting puddle will dry eventually. Maybe, if it's the other kind of business, you'll need to venture to the communal latrine at the edge of the village. Essentially a hole in the ground with some crude wooden supports that have absorbed decades of misses. The stench is so powerful it has practically achieved sentience and could represent your village in court. Forget toilet paper. It exists in China at this time, but it's for the wealthy. You're using smooth stones, sticks, or leftover corn cobs. Let that sink in. The next time you complain about single-ply toilet paper, remember, corn cobs. Now for a proper wash. Just kidding. In the Song dynasty, you might bathe fully once a month if you're particularly fastidious. More likely, it's seasonal. Winter bathing is considered dangerous. Exposure to cold water after being warm could trigger illness. Not entirely wrong given your malnourished immune system, but not exactly promoting cleanliness either. Instead, you'll wipe down essential areas with a damp cloth, paying special attention to your face, hands, and feet. Your armpits remain a biological weapon. Your groin is best not discussed in polite company. Your feet constantly in contact with animal waste, dirt, and parasites are calloused beyond recognition. Speaking of parasites, let's talk about your lifelong companions. Lice nest in your hair, fleas inhabit your clothing, and intestinal worms share your meals. That constant itch at the back of your scalp? Those tiny terrorists are having breakfast. The occasional squirming sensation in your belly? That's just your internal roommate stretching. In modern times, we have medications for these conditions. In Song Dynasty China, you have resignation and the occasional application of toxic substances that might kill a percentage of the parasites while slowly poisoning you. It's a trade-off you're willing to make. Before we continue, I need you to understand something important. By Song Dynasty standards, you're actually practicing good hygiene. Many of your neighbors consider washing an annual event, like New Year, celebrations, but wetter. Your fastidiousness in scrubbing your face daily marks you as somewhat eccentric. Time to dress. Your clothing is homespun hemp or rami, coarse, scratchy, and about as comfortable as wearing sandpaper. It's practical though, loose-fitting to allow for movement, layered for changing temperatures. In winter, you'll add padded cotton garments. If you're very lucky, perhaps a bit of silk, the cheapest, roughest kind, for special occasions. Your shoes are straw sandals or cloth shoes with wooden soles. They offer minimal protection from the elements and none from injury. That splinter you got last week is now a festering wound that pulses with every heartbeat. But you don't have time to worry about that. The sun is fully up now, and your stomach is growling. Time for breakfast. Hope you're hungry. Breakfast in Song Dynasty China. Let's see what's on the menu at Chez Peasant this morning. The centerpiece of your meal is congee, a watery rice porridge that makes modern instant oatmeal look like a gourmet delicacy. Rice is precious, so this gruel is stretched to its absolute limits. More water than grain. It's not so much eaten as it is suggested to your stomach. The taste is best described as warm disappointment. To add flavor, you might have some pickled vegetables. Not the artisanal, small-batch pickles that hipsters pay $12 for at farmers' markets. These are vegetables thrown into a pot of brine months ago and forgotten until needed. The fermentation process has transformed them into something between food and biological experiment. If you're particularly fortunate, you might have a tiny piece of salted fish, so preserved that it's practically mummified, and so salty that each bite is like licking a mineral deposit. It's less a food and more a seasoning that happens to be solid. Tea? Yes, but not the meticulously prepared aromatic beverage of tea ceremonies. Your tea is harsh, bitter, and full of stems and dust. It's the reject pile from the batches sent to the capital. You drink it not for enjoyment, but because the boiled water is less likely to kill you than drinking straight from the well. The most remarkable thing about your breakfast isn't what's in it. It's what isn't. There's no sugar, no coffee, no dairy. The Chinese digestive system has a contentious relationship with lactose. No fruit, unless it's in season and you grow it yourself. No eggs, because the chickens are more valuable for their continued egg production than for a single morning's protein. You eat quickly, silently, sharing the meal with your family members. Conversation is minimal. What is there to discuss? The weather? The crops? The latest edict from the local magistrate increasing your tax burden. The neighbor's son who left for the city and hasn't been heard from since. The daughter from the next village who died in childbirth yesterday. You finish your meager meal in minutes. Modern nutritionists would have a collective aneurysm looking at what you just consumed. It's about 600 calories, mostly carbohydrates, with minimal protein and almost no fat or micronutrients. And it's still the best meal you'll have today. You're perpetually malnourished, but not actively starving. Unless it's a bad harvest year, in which case, adjust your expectations dramatically downward. Your teeth are already showing signs of nutritional deficiencies. That constant fatigue you feel isn't laziness. It's your body desperately trying to function on insufficient fuel. Hey viewers, speaking of food, this episode is brought to you by your kitchen. Go there after this video and appreciate everything in it. The refrigerator storing your food at safe temperatures. The spices from around the world that would have cost a fortune in Song Dynasty China. The clean drinking water that comes out of a tap like magic. Appreciate it all, because your ancient Chinese counterpart would weep at such abundance. With breakfast concluded, you rinse your simple wooden bowl with a splash of water and set it aside. No soap, no scouring. Just a quick rinse and it's ready for your next meal. The family chopsticks, simple wooden utensils that have absorbed years of meals, are wiped on a cloth and returned to their place. Your stomach still feels hollow, but that's normal. You've never known the sensation of being truly full. That's a luxury reserved for the elite. Besides, you'll need to save room for the feast that is lunch. More rice, more pickled vegetables, and if the agricultural gods are smiling, perhaps a scrap of pork fat to flavor the pot. But first, there's work to be done. So much work. Daily work and labor. The sun is barely above the horizon, and already your day's labor beckons. In the Song Dynasty, your occupation is almost certainly farming. Over 90% of the population worked the land, and social mobility wasn't exactly a celebrated concept. You step outside, tool in hand. Depending on the season, you're either plowing, planting, weeding, irrigating, or harvesting. Today, it's plowing. You harness yourself to a wooden plow because your family doesn't own an ox. You are the ox. Your father guides the plow behind you as you strain against the weight. Your shoulders burning, your bare feet sinking into the mud. Each step is an exercise in determined suffering. The soil is heavy clay, stubbornly resisting your efforts. Rocks hidden beneath the surface slam into the plow, the shock reverberating up your arms. You've been working for 1 hour, and already your homespun shirt is soaked with sweat. The sun beats down mercilessly. There are no breaks, no water coolers, no ergonomic assessments. You'll work like this for approximately 12 hours today. Every day. With no weekends, no paid vacation, no sick leave. The concept of work-life balance would be incomprehensible to you. There is only work and sleep, with brief interludes for eating and ancestral worship. Your hands are calloused beyond feeling. Permanent dirt outlines your fingernails, so embedded that it's become part of your anatomy. Your back has developed a slight stoop from decades of bending. You're 28 years old, going on 65. The monotony is punctuated only by pain. A blister forms and bursts. A muscle cramps and you work through it. The afternoon sun triggers a pounding headache, but stopping isn't an option. The tax collector doesn't care about your migraines. Speaking of taxes, let's discuss your financial situation. It's grim. During the Song dynasty, peasants typically surrendered 40–70% of their harvest to various entities: the imperial government, local officials, landlords, and moneylenders. What remains barely feeds your family, with nothing left for savings or improvement. You're perpetually in debt. When your plow broke last season, you borrowed money at interest rates that would make modern payday lenders blush. You'll never pay it off. Your children will inherit your debt, continuing the cycle of agricultural serfdom for another generation. The work isn't just physically demanding, it's dangerous. One wrong move with a sickle could mean a devastating infection. One slip while terracing a hillside could mean a fatal fall. The irrigation system you maintain requires wading in stagnant water, exposing you to parasites that will gradually destroy your liver. But the greatest threat isn't accident, it's weather. Drought means starvation. Too much rain means flooding and starvation. Early frost means, you guessed it, starvation. You check the sky obsessively, looking for signs. You've never heard of meteorology, but you know more weather indicators than a modern TV forecaster. That peculiar smell in the air? Rain coming? The way the birds are flying? Strong winds tomorrow. Here's what makes your agricultural existence particularly cruel. Despite working yourself to exhaustion, you have almost no control over the outcome. You can do everything right. Plant at the proper time. Maintain perfect irrigation. Work from dawn until collapse. And still lose everything to weather, insects, or disease. There's no crop insurance, no disaster relief. Just the bitter acceptance that nature is indifferent to your suffering. The sky darkens ominously. Rain is coming. Not the gentle, nourishing kind, but the torrential downpour that will wash away seeds and drown young plants. You work faster, desperately trying to finish before the deluge. Your muscles scream in protest. Your lungs burn. Your hands bleed. The first heavy drops begin to fall as you finally seek shelter. Too late. You're soaked to the skin in seconds. The chill sets in immediately. That cough you've been ignoring? It's about to get much worse, but there's no sick day coming. Tomorrow you'll work through the fever because the alternative is watching your family starve. And just when you think it can't get worse, it's time for lunch. Midday meal and rest. Lunchtime in Song Dynasty, China. The break you've been waiting for. Time to feast upon... Oh no, your midday meal makes breakfast look like a Roman banquet. Cold rice, if there's any left from yesterday, or millet porridge even thinner than your morning congee. Your wife, who has been working just as hard as you in the family vegetable garden, might have gathered some wild greens. They're bitter but provide the only fresh vitamins you'll get today. You eat directly from the small pot, sharing with whoever else is working nearby. No plates, no serving utensils, just communal chopsticks and acceptance that your family's bacterial flora is now a collective enterprise. The meal lasts perhaps 15 minutes. You eat mechanically, without pleasure, simply refueling your body for the afternoon's labor. Occasionally, you gaze longingly at the distant manor house where the landlord lives. Rumors suggest they eat meat daily. The concept is so outlandish, it might as well involve flying horses. This brief respite is the closest thing you have to leisure. As you chew your fibrous greens, you might exchange a few words with family members. Local gossip, complaints about the weather, theories about which neighbor angered which ancestor, resulting in the current misfortunes. You don't discuss politics. The imperial government is as distant and immutable as the stars. Local officials are to be feared, not critiqued. The social order is fixed, divinely ordained. Questioning it would be like questioning why water flows downhill. Not that rebellions don't happen. Oh, they do. The history of imperial China is a cycle of dynasties rising, flourishing, corrupting, and being overthrown. But peasant rebellions usually end one way for the participants, gruesomely. The rare successful rebellion simply replaces one distant elite with another. Meet the new emperor, same as the old emperor, but now with extra executions. Your rest period concludes abruptly. The sun has moved only slightly, but every moment of daylight is precious. You stand, joints popping, muscles stiff, and return to the fields. The afternoon stretch is always the worst. The morning's energy is gone. The end is still hours away. All that remains is endurance. But wait, before you return to work, nature calls. Again. And this time, it's urgent. Disease and medicine. That rumbling in your gut isn't normal hunger. It's your intestinal parasites throwing a revolution. You barely make it to the village latrine before your body violently expels whatever minimal nutrition you manage to extract. From lunch. This is a regular occurrence. Your water is contaminated. Your food hygiene is non-existent. Your intestinal tract is less a digestive system and more a wildlife preserve for organisms that would fascinate modern parasitologists. Let's inventory your current medical conditions, shall we? You have chronic dysentery, which comes and goes, like an unwelcome relative. Your persistent cough suggests tuberculosis, but it could also be chronic bronchitis from inhaling smoke every day of your life. That rash on your arms could be fungal, could be bacterial, could be an allergic reaction. You'll never know because dermatology is several centuries away. Your joints ache constantly, likely early-onset arthritis from physical labor and nutritional deficiencies. Your teeth are rotting. At least 3 are painful abscesses waiting to rupture. Your vision is deteriorating, but there are no optometrists in the Song dynasty. You'll simply see less and less until the world becomes a blur. You're actually healthier than many of your contemporaries. The child mortality rate hovers around 30%. Childbirth kills 1 in 8 women. A simple cut, if infected, can lead to sepsis and death within days. That pain in your abdomen could be nothing, or it could be appendicitis, in which case you'll be dead by morning. But surely there are doctors, right? Well, yes and no. The Song dynasty actually had an advanced medical system by 12th century standards. There were physicians trained in traditional Chinese medicine, with its complex understanding of bodily harmonies, herbal remedies, acupuncture, and moxibustion. The problem? You can't afford them. Those physicians serve the elite. Your medical care comes from the village healer, whose knowledge is a mixture of folk wisdom, superstition, and practical experience. Some of her herbal remedies actually work. Others are placebo at best, actively harmful at worst. When seriously ill, your treatment options are limited. Herbal medicine, some of which contains genuinely effective compounds, administered in uncontrolled doses. Acupuncture performed with needles that are, at best, wiped clean between patients. Moxibustion, burning mugwort on specific body points. It hurts. It sometimes works, mainly as a counter-irritant. Cupping, creating suction on the skin with heated cups. See above regarding counter-irritants. Prayer and offerings to ancestors and various deities associated with healing. There are no antibiotics, no antivirals, No anti-inflammatories beyond willow bark, the precursor to aspirin. No antiseptics except wine and strong spirits. Surgery is crude, performed without anesthesia, and usually more dangerous than the condition it's meant to treat. Your current intestinal distress eventually subsides, leaving you weaker but able to resume work. You don't have the luxury of convalescence. Every day spent in bed is a day without income, pushing your family closer to starvation. You return to the fields, moving more slowly now, ignoring the cramping in your abdomen and the fuzzy edges of your vision. There are crops to tend. The tax collector doesn't accept illness as payment, and just when you think it can't get worse, it starts to rain again. Social hierarchy and interactions. You hurry back from the fields as the downpour intensifies. The path to the village becomes a muddy stream. Your soaked clothing clings to your skin, the rough fabric chafing with every movement. As you approach the village, you see a commotion. Horses, fine silk garments protected by oil paper umbrellas. Officials from the county seat. Your heart sinks. Nothing good ever comes from official visits. Time for an impromptu lesson in Song Dynasty social hierarchy. At the top sits the emperor, divine, distant, and irrelevant to your daily existence. Below him, a complex bureaucracy of scholar officials, selected through the imperial examination system. In theory, even a farmer's son could take these exams and rise through the ranks. In practice, only families wealthy enough to educate their sons to an exceptional degree could compete. You are not in that category. Your literacy extends to perhaps 50 basic characters. Enough to read simple notices and tax demands, not enough to compose the intricate essays required for the examinations. As the officials pass, you drop your gaze and bow deeply. Making eye contact would be presumptuous. Speaking without being addressed first would be unthinkable. These men have the power to tax you into starvation, conscript you into labor projects, or have you beaten for perceived disrespect. One official notices you anyway. His eyes narrow. "You there, farmer!" Your tax contribution last season was 3 bushels short. Explain yourself. Your mouth goes dry. You know Tao, pressing your forehead into the mud. You explain about the drought, the locust swarm, your mother's illness that prevented her from helping with the harvest. You promise to make up the shortfall this season. You beg for understanding. The official sniffs dismissively. He doesn't care about your excuses. Results are all that matter. He makes a notation in his record book, a black mark against your family name. You'll need to produce significantly more this year or face severe consequences. This interaction perfectly encapsulates your place in Song Dynasty society. You are a resource to be extracted from, a tool for agricultural production, a statistic in an official ledger. Your humanity is irrelevant to the bureaucratic machine. The encounter leaves you shaken, but not surprised. This is the natural order of things, as far as you understand. The Song Dynasty actually has less rigid social divisions than previous eras. Unlike the Tang Dynasty, there's no formal caste system. Social mobility is theoretically possible through education, military service, or commerce. But theoretically possible and practically achievable are separated by a chasm as wide as the Yangtze. Your children will almost certainly be farmers just as you are, just as your parents were, extending back generations. Your social circle is limited to your village, perhaps 100 to 200 people total. You know everyone. They know you. Privacy isn't just limited, it's non-existent. Every argument, every misfortune, every minor triumph becomes community knowledge by sundown. This closeness is both suffocating and comforting. You'll never experience the anonymity of urban life. You'll never know the loneliness of being surrounded by strangers. Your community will support you in crisis, not out of charity but reciprocity. You do the same for them, because next time It could be your family needing help. The officials eventually depart, leaving a village holding its collective breath. Only when the horses disappear around the bend does normal conversation resume. The encounter dominates discussion as you seek shelter in a neighbor's home. What did they want? Who else received tax warnings? Will there be conscription for the canal project? Let me tell you about Song Dynasty gossip. It's an art form. In a world without newspapers, television, or internet, oral communication is everything. Information, misinformation, and outright fantasy blend seamlessly. By the time a story travels from the county seat to your village, it's been transformed like a generational game of telephone. You hear rumors of barbarian invasions from the north, imperial court intrigues, new tax policies, miraculous events in distant provinces. You have no way to verify any of it. The world beyond your immediate experience is essentially mythological, populated by figures and events that might as well be from ancient legends. And just when you think the day can't get any more stressful, someone mentions your daughter's upcoming marriage negotiations, family dynamics, and marriage. As afternoon fades toward evening, you return home to find your wife in deep discussion with your mother. The topic: your 14-year-old daughter's marriage prospects. The neighbor's son, a young man of 17, with a reputation for hard work and a family with slightly more land than yours, has expressed interest through an intermediary. Marriage in Song Dynasty. China isn't about romance. It's a family alliance, an economic transaction, a merging of bloodlines and resources. Your daughter's feelings on the matter are secondary at best, irrelevant at worst. Your feelings as her father carry more weight. But even you are constrained by practical realities. The negotiation involves complex calculations. How much land does the young man's family hold? What will the bride price be? Yes, in traditional Chinese marriage, the groom's family pays the bride's. What will constitute your daughter's dowry? How will labor be redistributed between households? Your daughter listens silently from the corner, mending a torn garment. Her expression reveals nothing. She's been raised to accept her parents' decisions in such matters, but you notice her hands trembling slightly. This marriage will determine the entire course of her life. Her husband's temperament will decide whether she lives in relative peace or constant fear. His family's economic status will determine whether she eats well or goes hungry. You feel a moment of doubt. You want happiness for your child, but what is happiness in Song Dynasty terms? Security, enough food, healthy children, respect within the community. If this match can provide those things, it's a good match, regardless of compatibility or affection. The Song Dynasty actually represents a period of relative regression for women's rights in China. The preceding Tang Dynasty allowed women unusual freedoms. They could own property, initiate divorce, and even participate in politics. The Song, influenced by resurgent Confucianism, reimposed stricter gender roles. Your daughter will be expected to serve her husband's family, particularly his mother. She'll be valued primarily for producing sons. Her education will be limited to household management, basic literacy if she's lucky. Her world will shrink to the confines of her husband's family compound. As discussions continue, you contribute occasionally but defer to your wife and mother on most details. Gender roles in your household are clearly defined yet practical. Women handle domestic affairs, child rearing, textile production, and vegetable gardens. Men handle grain farming, construction, and interactions with officials. But these divisions blur at peak agricultural seasons when all hands are needed for planting and harvest. Your wife works the fields alongside you when necessary. You help with childcare when she's occupied elsewhere. Survival requires flexibility. Family structure in Song Dynasty China follows the Confucian ideal: hierarchical, patriarchal, with emphasis on filial piety. respect and obedience toward parents and ancestors. Your aging parents live with you. When they can no longer work, you'll support them completely. When they die, you'll observe elaborate mourning rituals, including wearing coarse white hemp clothing for up to 3 years. This multi-generational household creates constant tension, but also resilience. More hands for labor, more minds for problem solving. Knowledge transmitted directly from grandparent to grandchild. In a world without institutional support systems, your family is your only safety net. Your relationship with your wife is complex. You didn't choose each other? Your marriage was arranged when you were teenagers. There was no courtship, no dating, no romantic prelude. Yet over 15 years together, you've developed something deeper than modern romanticized love. You're partners in survival. You know each other's strengths and weaknesses intimately. You've weathered famines, births, deaths, and disasters together. Affection exists between you, expressed not through words or physical demonstration. Public displays of affection would be scandalous, but through small considerations. She prepares your favorite pickled vegetables when you're ill. You carve wooden combs for her hair during winter evenings. These tiny gestures carry the weight that passionate declarations would in another time and place. As the marriage negotiations continue, you excuse yourself. The day's labor and emotional stress have drained you completely. But it's not time for rest yet. As you step outside, you notice the sky clearing. The rain has stopped. There might be time before sunset to salvage something from the day's agricultural labor. You pick up your tools again and head back to the fields. Your back screams in protest. Your empty stomach churns. The fever you've been ignoring all day makes your head swim. Just a few more hours of daylight. Just a few more rows to weed. Just a little more suffering to endure. Evening activities and leisure. The sun finally begins its descent, painting the sky in colors you have no names for. Your language has fewer color terms than modern English. The distinction between blue and green is blurry at best, but you don't need specialized vocabulary to appreciate the beauty of sunset. It signals the blessed end of the workday. You trudge, home, tools over your shoulder, every muscle vibrating with fatigue. The evening brings its own rituals and, dare I say, leisure activities. Yes, even in the Song Dynasty, people occasionally had fun, albeit a version of fun that modern humans would find suspiciously similar to more work. As you approach your home, the smell of cooking fires fills the air. The village is preparing the day's main meal. Your stomach growls in anticipation, though experience has taught you to temper your expectations. Before eating, there are evening chores. Animals need feeding. Water needs fetching. Firewood needs stacking. The garden needs checking for pests that operate under cover of darkness. Even your children are put to work. The youngest gathering kindling. The oldest helping with food preparation. Finally, as true darkness falls, your family gathers for dinner. This is the day's main meal and the closest thing to a social event in your daily routine. 3 generations sit around the cooking fire, exhausted but together. Tonight's feast? Rice again, but with slightly more substance than your earlier meals. There's a thin stew with scraps of salted pork and wild vegetables. The portion is small, perhaps a cup by modern measurement, but it's hot and savory and momentarily satisfies the eternal hunger in your belly. Conversation flows more freely now than at any other time. The day's events are discussed. Village. Gossip is exchanged. Your father might share a story from his youth, a tale you've heard dozens of times but still enjoy. Your children squabble over the most flavorful bits of stew, a miniature reenactment of resource competition that will define their entire lives. After dinner comes the closest approximation of leisure in your Song Dynasty existence. During winter, months, with early darkness extending the evening, Families gather around the fire for handcrafts and storytelling. Women spin thread or weave cloth. Men repair tools or carve simple implements. Children practice basic skills or play quiet games with pebbles and sticks. Let me tell you about Song Dynasty Entertainment. Professional storytellers occasionally visit villages, bringing tales of historical battles, legendary heroes, and supernatural events. These performances are community treasures, remembered and discussed for months afterward. Music features prominently in village life. Simple flutes, two-stringed fiddles, and drums accompany festivals and ceremonies. You might not be a musician yourself, but you know dozens of folk songs, work songs that help synchronize group labor, lullabies for children, ritualized wailing for funerals. During summer months like now, evenings might include sitting outside with neighbors, sharing tobacco from long pipes, and watching children play in the relative cool of dusk. These moments, rare intervals of genuine relaxation, provide tiny sparks of joy in an otherwise grueling existence. Before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, comment below with what ancient society you'd like me to cover. Next, Ming Dynasty, Ancient Egypt, Medieval Europe. Your nightmares are my content schedule. The respite is brief. As true night falls, there's one more obligation before sleep: ancestral worship. Your family gathers before the small shrine in the corner of your home. Paper offerings are burned. Incense is lit. Prayers are murmured to grandparents and great-grandparents, long dead but never forgotten. This isn't mere superstition. In the Song Dynasty worldview, your ancestors actively participate in your family's fortunes. They can bring good luck if properly honored, disasters if neglected. More practically, ancestral worship reinforces family continuity and filial obligations. You care for your parents because your children are watching, learning how they should care for you in old age. As the incense smoke curls toward the ceiling, you stifle a yawn. The day's exertions are catching up with you. That fever you've been ignoring flares, bringing waves of heat and chills. Your eyelids grow heavy. It's time for the day's final challenge, trying to sleep in Song Dynasty China, sleeping arrangements and night terrors. You return to your sleeping platform, the same hard kang where you began your day. The ceramic pillow awaits, its unyielding surface a medieval torture device disguised as bedroom furniture. Your thin sleeping mat offers minimal cushioning against the brick surface beneath. Privacy is non-existent. Your sleeping area might be partially sectioned off by a hanging cloth, but the entire family sleeps in the same room. Your children curl together like puppies on their own mat. Your parents occupy another corner. Your wife settles beside you, her body as exhausted as yours. Let's talk about Song Dynasty nightwear. It's simple. You don't change clothes for sleeping. The same garments you've worn all day, minus perhaps an outer layer, serve as your pajamas. In winter, you might sleep in every piece of clothing you own, plus whatever blankets your family possesses, all piled together for warmth. In summer, you strip down to minimal coverage, sweating in the humid night air. Sleep should come quickly after such a physically demanding day, but often it doesn't. The smoke from the cooking fire lingers in the air, irritating your lungs and eyes. Your various aches and pains, the arthritis in your hands, the persistent tooth abscess, the new blister on your heel, throb in concert. Then there are the nocturnal companions. Rats scurry in the corners, bold enough to nibble on stored grain, even while humans are present. Insects buzz and bite. Fleas that have been relatively dormant during the day wake up for their nightly feast. You scratch unconsciously, raising welts that will become infected if you're not careful. Beyond physical discomforts lie psychological ones. Your mind races with anxieties. Will the crops survive if this rain continues? How will you pay the additional tax demanded today? Is your daughter's marriage arrangement favorable? Is that cough of your father's getting worse? Death is your constant companion, far more present and acknowledged than in modern society. In your small village, you've witnessed dozens of deaths. Infants who never drew breath, children claimed by mysterious fevers, women lost in childbirth, elders fading away. The average life expectancy in Song Dynasty China hovers around 35 years, and you're approaching that milestone with the accumulated physical damage of someone decades older. Sleep finally begins to claim you, but even your dreams offer no true escape. They're filled with ordinary anxieties rather than fantastical journeys. Dreams of crop failure, of imperial tax collectors, of famine and flood. Your subconscious is as practical and survival-focused as your waking mind. And then, sometime in the deepest part of night, you wake suddenly. Your heart pounds. Sweat drenches your sleeping mat despite the cool air. Was it a noise that woke you? A dream? The fever that's been building all day? You lie perfectly still, listening. The familiar sounds of your family's breathing surround you. Your father's wet, rattling cough. Your mother's soft wheezing. Your youngest child's whistling exhale through a stuffy nose. Beyond your walls, dogs bark in the distance. An owl calls. The night watch strikes a bamboo tube, announcing the hour. All normal sounds of a Song Dynasty night. But beneath these familiar noises, you imagine others. The creak of a floorboard that might be an intruder. Bandits are not uncommon, especially in years of poor harvest when desperation drives men to violence. Or it could be something worse. Something supernatural. The Song Dynasty world is populated not just by the living and the honored dead, but by hungry ghosts, malevolent spirits, and supernatural creatures. That unexplained illness that took your nephew last winter? Perhaps caused by a fox spirit. The neighbor's sudden streak of bad luck could be ancestral displeasure. The strange lights seen over the western marsh, almost certainly will-o'-the-wisps leading travelers to their doom. You're not especially superstitious by Song Dynasty standards, which means you're wildly superstitious by modern measures. You wear protective amulets, observe taboos against sweeping at night or whistling in the dark, and can recite dozens of folk remedies to ward off specific evils. Eventually, your exhaustion overwhelms your anxiety. You drift back to sleep, navigating a narrow channel between physical discomfort and supernatural dread. Your rest is fragmented, interrupted by your father's worsening cough, your own fever chills, and the constant itching of insect bites. All too soon, the roosters begin their announcement of dawn. It's still dark, but the night is officially over. Another day in Song Dynasty. China begins. You've survived the night. Congratulations. Now do it again, and again, and again. For however many days remain in your likely abbreviated lifespan. Well, dear viewer, you've made it through 24 hours in Song Dynasty China. You're exhausted, malnourished, disease-ridden, and overworked, and that was a good day. No natural disasters, no bandit attacks, no imperial soldiers conscripting you for military service, no epidemic diseases sweeping through your village, just the grinding, relentless reality of pre-modern agricultural existence. Here's what makes historical empathy so difficult yet so important. The life I've described would be objectively miserable by modern standards, yet it was simply life to the millions who lived it. They found moments of joy in family connections, seasonal festivals, rare moments of leisure. They developed rich cultural traditions, philosophical systems, and social structures that shaped our world. They weren't waiting to be rescued by modernity. They weren't incomplete humans lacking smartphones and antibiotics. They were fully realized people navigating the only reality they knew. The Song Dynasty actually represents a high point in pre-modern Chinese history. It was an era of remarkable innovation, movable type printing, paper money, gunpowder, the compass. Urban centers like Kaifeng housed over 1 million people, with amenities that wouldn't be matched in European cities for centuries. But these advancements touched the lives of ordinary farmers only peripherally. The magnificent landscape paintings, exquisite porcelains, and profound philosophical texts produced during this era were created in a world entirely separate from the one you just experienced. Next time you find yourself romanticizing the past or complaining about modern inconveniences, remember your day in Song Dynasty China. Remember the ceramic pillow, the intestinal parasites, the ever-present hunger, the complete absence of privacy, the constant physical labor. Then flush your toilet, take an antibiotic, adjust your climate control, and thank whatever powers you believe in that you were born in the age of indoor plumbing and dental anesthesia. If you enjoyed this historical nightmare fuel, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. Leave a comment telling me which ancient civilization you'd like me to destroy your romanticized notions about next. Thanks for watching. Sleep well tonight on your luxurious modern mattress, safe in the knowledge that you'll never have to experience life in Song Dynasty China firsthand. Your ceramic pillow will remain safely in a museum where it belongs. And just remember, no matter how bad your day was, at least you didn't have to use a corn cob as toilet paper.